Hey there, this is just a quick rundown of using Derby in Eclipse and Java. So I've set them up into three separate things, so you can scroll through them easy if you have something done already. To start, let's create a project. Skip this if you already have yours created. Alright, so I'm going to create a simple project for this purpose to show you guys kind of how to connect the database. If you don't know how to create a project by now, I suggest you go and watch some more basic videos. Open your project, give it a name. In this case, it's going to be something like connecting, creating, database, something. Okay. And in this case, I'm not going to do anything fancy. Just make sure that everything's kind of pre-built for me in this one, because it's not going to create any problems for this database project. Okay, so here's our project, and source folder. We're going to create two classes, so just follow along. You can definitely pause if you need to kind of see what I'm doing, but just very, very basic. Create the project, create a class for the database connection so that you can use it multiple times in your code, and then create a main method. It didn't create one for me here, and it's pretty simple. It needs a okay, capital letter for class names. Just keep that in mind. So with this one, I'm just gonna use the auto method creator, and there you go. Now you have a project that's just about ready. So to download Derby, or before you download Derby, I suggest creating a new folder for it, for the jar file. So to do that, we're going to go from source to new. And if I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. Just know that you guys can pause. So go to folder, and in your source file, you're going to create a folder for libraries, lib. Make sure it's in your source file so it knows where to grab it. Alright, and now we have a place for our jar file, which we will get from downloading Derby on the website, on the Apache website. I already downloaded it. This is the most recent version right now. So I'm going to put it on the right hand side, the zip file, and go into the libraries folder from the zip file, and our library folder. That's why I name it library anyway, because it's pretty easy to get to. Copy just the Derby jar file is good for basic database programming. And earlier I had some issues with pasting it directly onto that file. If it works for you guys, that's great. I'm just going to go into the File Explorer with it and double click, and this is the library that's in our physical project, and I'm going to paste the jar file here. So now we have the Derby methods already in there for us to use. Thank you, Apache. Alright, so now that that's done, we can get on with the fun part of this. And again, this is going to be super simple, so let's just make this thing big again. The code. Okay, so to start off, we need to make some variables. Two strings, one for the driver, which is going to have the website for the Derby, the Derby, and then you're going to need another one for the URL. and you're going to call this later a few times if you need to open up the database multiple times in your code, just so you can go to the same one each time. Make sure, it's looking at a different one. Make sure, I was working on this for my midterm earlier too, so I'm just in the habit of using that. But make sure it's your file name, or your project name when you write the location of the database connection. In this case, this is one we used. Make sure you used a semicolon there. I made the mistake a few times of accidentally putting just a regular colon. If it doesn't exist, you'll, at the end of the semicolon, you'll create equals true. That's what makes it exist. But yeah, semicolon at the end. So it'll create it if it's not there. It's, like I said, very basic. Otherwise, you could leave that out and put it somewhere else in your code. Import your connection, because you need a connection variable to make it happen. Java SQL connection is the one you want. Make sure it's java.sql. And now to make the method for connecting. So we want to put this into a try-catch, because if it does fail to connect, it will throw an exception, the SQL exception. I'm just going to call mine E for right now. And instead of your program crashing, you're going to want to do something about the inability to connect to the database that you're trying to connect to now. So import that exception. Make sure they're all Java SQL. So this connection, or this con, then use the driver manager to get the connection. You're going to want to use your URL that you created to connect. If it cannot connect, or if it does connect, if it's not null, that's what you'll want to do in your if statement here. Yeah, so if it is not null, which means, you know, if it finds the connection, which is great. So for this, I'm not really going to do anything special with the connection. With the database, I just want to show you guys how to connect. So I'm just going to do a system out print line for the console to let me know that it did work and I am connected. Later I will make a video with how to create tables and fill the tables with data, and then call them back. So that'll be a different video, but for now this is just very simple. If it fails to connect and it calls the SQL exception, in this case, you know, we're going to just print connection failed, but obviously if that happens while your computer or while your people are using your program, you know, you're going to want to do something about it, and you can fill that in there, whatever it is that you guys would need to, I don't know, send them a message. Anyway, so that's that, and now we need to call it from our main method. So to call a class from your main method, you know, you named it, now you can just call it with its name and then give it a variable name, like a variable, and it's a new version of it every time the program runs. And now that will call your connection, and we can test it out and make sure it works. And it didn't. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this library is not showing the jar file I put in there. Normally if I just refresh it, it works. Let's just refresh. Okay, there it is. And just make sure that shows up. Do some troubleshooting there. Okay, more troubleshooting. So we have this there, and oh yeah, we need to add the jar file, like it's in the project, but it's not added to our main library for this project. So right-click your project and go down to Properties, and in Properties, you're going to want to click on the Java build path, and under Libraries, you're going to want to add the jar file here. And it should be in your project, so it should come right up when you search for it. Your project, source file, libraries, there it is. So now you can add it to your project library. Okay, and that should be good to go. Let's give it a run. Alrighty, and it is taking a little bit longer now, which is nice. That means it's creating the database, and it's successful. Yeah. So there you go. Project is complete, and now you've managed to create a database connection. So I hope that helped any of you that were stumped get started and go from there. Good luck. Thanks for watching.